And good morning on Thursday, November 21st. It's episode 320 of the 359 podcast. I'm BVG, and your host today are Alfred and Roger Cheng. Good morning, guys.
Hey.
Yo, what up?
Morning. Happy Tuesday.
Is it?
Yeah.
It could be.
I mean, for me, it's the last day of the week, so that's awesome.
Ouch.
What?
Screw you.
Sorry.
Anyways, what are we talking about today?
What are we talking about? We're going to be talking about AT&T going to war with the U.S. over in the U.S. Justice Department over its ability to buy Time Warner. We're going to talk about the infamous HBO hacker, the alleged hacker, who had stolen and released a bunch of scripts for Game of Thrones, as well as episodes of Ballers and Curb Your Enthusiasm. And Alfred wrote a nice little tip sheet on the advice you want to give your parents over Thanksgiving about security. We just want to reference it. We don't have a story out yet, but it's breaking news. The FCC has circulated the order to essentially dismantle the existing net neutrality rules. We'll kind of flick at it on the podcast. We don't have the story on it yet, but obviously happy to take questions.
It's breaking news, so it's coming.
Right. But obviously we're happy to take questions on that as well, although a lot of it is sort of early.
A lot of hearsay.
So, as always, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Brian will pick out the best. We will try to answer them in 3 minutes and 59 seconds.
And here we go for the recording. We'll be back. See you in the chat in 3, 2...
Welcome to the 359. I'm Roger Cheng.
I'm Alfred Ng.
AT&T's bid to become a major Hollywood player just hit a big snag. The Justice Department sued AT&T to block its $85 billion acquisition of Time Warner, citing antitrust concerns. The telecom giant has vowed to battle the U.S. in court, which should make for an interesting showdown come 2018.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly interesting that, AT&T and Time Warner is now, I guess, like the crossroad of we're fighting for freedom of speech, even though this is also like a major merger that would kind of like go against that as well.
Yeah, it's a weird situation. The argument that the Justice Department has made is that this would create a company that both owns the content and distributes it, and that's way too powerful. But there's been a lot of chatter that this is really about President Trump and his hatred for CNN, fake news CNN, and so a lot of people are finding themselves in that awkward position where they're like, we're really against these big mergers, but we're also not so happy with Trump meddling with government.
They're stuck in between a rock and a hard place here. But I mean, I would kind of have to agree with it where they're getting like way too much content for. I mean, even if you take CNN out of the factor when they're saying you should divest, just Turner Broadcasting. I mean, how much does that leave AT&T in the merger if they were even to agree to that?
I mean, so far they've said that any kind of divestiture to that extent is a non-starter. Even CNN alone is something they would not agree to. And I was on the conference call with the CEO. He sounded pissed. He was angry yesterday, and he was shocked. And so it's just kind of an interesting. It's a weird situation for everyone.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this fight, though.
Yeah, it's going to be a glorious battle come 2018. All right, next up, the alleged hacker who broke into HBO's servers and leaked scripts for Game of Thrones and unreleased episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm and Ballers was indicted by the Justice Department, which is having a really busy week, apparently. Alfred, you wrote about this. What's the latest? What's the details?
Essentially, they charge an Iranian citizen who had worked for the Iranian military in the past. He had hacked on behalf of the military, attacking other armies. He attacked nuclear software systems and Israeli infrastructure. He was also a part of a infamous hacking group that basically defaced U.S. websites, saying, you've been hacked by this superior Iranian hacking group. And then he turned his focus to HBO, where he basically, I mean, as you know, the story goes, he leaked Game of Thrones episodes, leaked Curb Your Enthusiasm episodes, and then demanded $6 million in ransomware from HBO. Wow. Not in ransomware, just in Bitcoin.
Right.
And
just to clarify, like if he's hacking other intelligence agencies, I assume hacking HBO is like nothing for him, right?
This attack actually wasn't that complicated, according to the indictment at least. He had basically targeted HBO employees who had access to HBO's like computer servers. Yeah. So he never like broke through HBO's firewalls or anything like that. He basically targeted the weakest links and found that they had access to all these files, and then he went after them. So
speaking of hacking, Alfred, you put together this nice little tip sheet for folks going back home to their parents. What are some of the top tips that you would suggest talking about with your parents when it comes to cybersecurity?
I tried to keep it simple. Phishing is, as you know, is basically responsible for like 90% of the reason why people get hacked, and that usually happens over emails. It's when there's a suspicious link in an account, and usually it's, they're pretending to be something that you do use, like
Right.
Here's the tracking for your package that's been delivered, but it's actually not from Amazon. It's from a hacker who wants your account information. You click on it, and it goes to a page that looks like it's Amazon. So the tip that I have for that is essentially don't click on the link in the email, and if you get something like that and you want to go check it out, just go straight to Amazon or go straight to Netflix or whatever it is that's like coming, and then log in through that channel. It's an extra step, but it's a lot more secure.
Definitely a nice bit of practical advice. For more on that story, check us out on CNET. I'm Roger Chang.
I'm Alfred Ng.
Thanks for listening.
So is anybody going home for IT season? I mean, Christmas season this year? Visiting for the holidays?
Yeah, I'll be back in LA for the holidays.
You missed my joke, though.
No, what?
How you go home, and I'm not going home to celebrate the holidays with family. I'm going home to provide free IT service to all of my family's computers.
Yeah. I mean, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
my parents' computers are beyond salvation. If you look at my story, there's a tweet that I embedded in there of my dad's laptop. He got it in a month. He got it, like, all that happened in a month. I don't know how he did that.
Yeah.
It was almost as if he went on purpose to install malware on his computer. But there was like nothing I could do for him. It was just like, I gotta get out of here, dude. I'm sorry. If you want to send your laptop to me so I have like more time to handle this, but like I can't do this in a day, dude.
No, it's bonkers to me.
Yeah.
I've gone home before and been blamed for viruses on a computer that I've physically never touched.
It was in the email you sent me.
Yeah, must have been, right? So anyways, go ahead and submit questions and comments. We'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, what do you guys think about this HBO situation? Being that I'm not a big Game of Thrones fan, I don't have perspective on this.
Yeah.
Is this guy a hero for leaking episodes or a villain?
No.
Okay.
I don't think he's a hero.
Well,
Good. I wouldn't agree either.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I noticed somebody in the comment is mentioning that this was actually done by 4 hackers that were arrested in India. That was actually for an unrelated incident. That was a separate hack of HBO.
There have been multiple.
Yes,
This was something that we've been following since when?
That's
it started in July.
In July.
was that just July? That
Yeah.
seemed like so long ago.
Well, all right, if you want to go through like the real timeline, so he started staking out HBO employees in May.
Okay.
And then sometime between May and June, he had gotten access and he started like collecting all the files. And then in July, he sends the ransom note where he has like the Night King.
Oh,
He's, like,
yeah,
posing, like,
yeah.
Good luck, HBO.
I mean, that's
At least he's a fan.
That's kind of the perfect image to use when you're, I guess, when you're holding up HBO for ransom. Because it's sort of like a what? Like it's like a dare you, right? Like,
So what leak would change your mind about this individual? Would you herald him as a hero if he actually leaked something out that you wanted?
I don't know. Just on the principle of
Would there be anything that would change your perspective?
Nah, not really. I mean, because ultimately the guy's doing it for money. Like,
Yeah.
It's not like a noble cause. He's just trying to make a buck, and it's just
That's true.
kind of-
Maybe if there was some like giant scandal that they're hiding.
Like the Sony hack?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like HBO had conspired to, I don't know, put down Danny for some reason. I don't know. Like, I don't know.
I have nowhere to go on that one.
Yeah, I mean it's
Several HBO execs were basically in an email chain are basically like, we hate George R.R. Martin's interpretation of the ending. We're gonna make it the way we want to.
oh yeah.
If that
would-
email had leaked,
that would be kind of that would
Larry
be a good
David
email.
shows up.
They're like, yeah, we want the ending to make sure that it leaves things open for the 15 spin-offs we're creating. So,
Guest director Michael Bay.
yeah, that's right. I would applaud the hacker if he somehow managed to uncover the conspiracy to bring Michael Bay onto the Game of Thrones franchise.
Ouch. All right.
More explosions.
So I don't really have a question, but I'd love to hear more about this AT&T Time Warner merger, because this seems like a really mega gray area, because I don't know how much I love the idea of this giant conglomerate. I mean, this is drifting towards monopolism. I almost want to kind of root for Trump in this one.
Yeah, it's a weird situation for a lot of people. The thing of it is, the Justice Department usually they have to have a pretty good reason to block one of these deals, and AT&T argues, and they have a point here, is that AT&T they're not buying a competitor, right? Time Warner and AT&T are two different businesses. One makes content, one distributes content.
But those influences can...
For sure. But they argue that at least when you look at sort of the letter of the law and how the Justice Department has to interpret the law, they argue that there's 50 years of precedent that shows that they should not block this deal. Now, precedent could be thrown out. The counter argument is when you own both the content and the distribution, all of a sudden you are a huge threat to those competitors of yours who also want that.
Well, to be fair, doesn't AT&T also own like DirecTV?
Yeah, well, but the thing of it is
that's
that's another pipe though. That's not DirecTV. Aside from a few exceptions, don't make their own content.
Yeah.
And I believe that's one of the. But reportedly, that's one of the divestitures that the Justice Department had asked.
Yeah,
right?
I would like make the argument that it is the same like company because they own something that like would benefit greatly off of that.
No, but that's not the same company. They don't compete. Time Warner does not compete against DirecTV.
Yeah, but I'm saying like, what if like if they did merge and then out of nowhere there just comes like you can only get HBO, time like CNN, etc. if you have DirecTV.
Right, and that's the argument that AT&T was trying to make, that there's no way business sense that would work.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But yeah, I think it's not necessarily like they would hold back that content. I think it would be more the fear is that they would charge for that content, charge a higher rate to say Verizon or Comcast to carry Game of Thrones or HBO, and thus those costs get passed down to the customer. Mm-hmm. Right. That's the big fear. AT&T says no. There's no way. The market dynamics wouldn't allow us to do it, but that's the concern.
That feels like them downplaying themselves on how
absolutely
we're not smart enough to figure out a way to get more money.
It's less we're not smart enough, and it's more competition wouldn't allow us to do it in a time when like other services or other over-the-top services are coming on and they're cheaper.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah. Watson wants to talk more about HBO. He says, I doubt HBO would have actually paid any ransom. They seem like a weird company to target. And even if they did, wouldn't that just mean that more people would think, like, maybe I should now target HBO? Yeah, it's like we don't negotiate with terrorists.
You wrote a story about this.
I've been following this whole like attack for a really long time now. Since the summer at least. It was a lot more interesting to me than Game of Thrones was. But they've explicitly said, we're not going to pay for this. We're never going to pay for this. There was one scenario where the hackers leaked out an email from HBO to them saying like, hey, thanks for, finding these flaws in our system. Here's a $250,000 bug bounty. Basically, like, here you go. Like, we're not going to pay $6 million, but, here's $250,000. And then the hackers basically said, no, like, we want the full $6 million. And then when I asked HBO about that leaked email, they said that was a diversion. We were never going to give him the money. We just wanted to stall for time on that. So I'm inclined to believe HBO on this one because, yes, that is the nature of how ransomware and a lot of these attacks go.
It's not really ransomware, right?
No, it's not. This is just ransom.
Right.
Yeah, but like ransomware attacks work in the same way where it's like if they know that there's like a money fountain here, like they're going to keep like going after it. And considering like how easy it was for him to break in initially,
right.
I would have to assume that other people would look at it as like a prime way to make some quick cash.
That's kind of why I think you mentioned in your Thanksgiving story like why you don't necessarily pay for ransomware, right? Because it just sort of invites more attacks.
It essentially encourages more attacks.
Yeah,
which is counterproductive at the end of the day.
Frosty Flake has a little commentary on our story about the AT&T Time Warner merger.
Okay.
Sorry, the Department of Justice has the common interest of the consumer as the primary interest, and the history of cable negotiation tactics are favoring for Department of Justice on the side of the consumer. I don't know if that's 100% true. How do you feel about this?
I feel inclined to agree with that. I feel like if it were a different White House staff, and one that didn't criticize CNN all the time, people would look at this and say, yeah, that makes sense. This merger would give AT&T way too much power. Great job.
I think,
but he's saying historically though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also blocked the AT&T T-Mobile merger.
Yes, they did. But that was a merger of direct competitors, right? Like that one made a lot of sense. They did let through the Comcast NBC Universal deal, which was another combination of a distributor and a content company. And you'd argue a bigger one, right? NBC is a big four national broadcaster with a lot of local channels.
Yeah.
So AT&T kind of points to that, and it's funny because AT&T I think actually went and I think they disputed that deal a few years ago. So when that deal was going through, like AT&T objected to it.
Yeah, I
And
can see
so
that.
this time they're saying, well, it's a different situation because Time Warner's not a big broadcaster, and it's there are definitely a lot of concerns I think people have about the power that AT&T would
At the
have.
end of the day, do you think that this deal is going to go through?
I think it will be a tough case for the Department of Justice to make.
I think it's going to be heavily reconfigured as far as terms
Could be.
but I
yeah.
think it will ultimately go through. It'll take a long time though.
But like AT&T,
at least a year or two.
AT&T's, I mean, they're one of the most not litigious. They have one of the most largest and robust legal staffs around. And so they already said on the call, they're like, we're ready. We want to do this now. Our lawyers are ready to
We're
go.
on a conference call with 2,000 lawyers. If you have any questions,
They said like they want they're hoping the fastest possible scenario is within 60 days, and like we want it like now, like right away.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell.
60 days is plausible. I think now I don't know.
I think it's going to be at least a year.
No, not to just to get things started.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
yeah,
what you're saying,
not
I
to
see what you're saying.
not to actually like wrap things up.
It's like,
but
no way.
They want to be in court within 60 days.
So, surprise, surprise, there's a few people in the chat who are not huge fans of Spectrum as a company.
Oh yeah.
I can't
I
imagine
have
why.
Spectrum. So,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. How is it? I still have Fios.
I'm like not really home that often using it, to be fair, but also
You're
my-
like the ideal customer.
yeah, pretty much.
You just pay them money. You don't use their services. It's perfect.
I mean, I use it on the weekends and
Alright.
at nights. But yeah, I don't know. It's been fine. I feel like I pay way too much for it, but I feel like I'd feel that way for anything that I buy ever. So
That's true.
yeah.
it's fine, and I pay way too much for it. Is that's my motto for all things that I
It's
spend money.
fine. It's just fine. I don't know. I have Fios, so it's I don't know if the
I
experience
am
has
not a
changed.
fan of having to pay for the modem though.
Yeah,
where
that's-
Which is
Stupid.
pretty, although that is standard, right? Like I have to
It's a
pay for-
deposit.
It used to not be standard, and the thing is that I could buy my own modem and not have to deal with that, but they don't tell you
they
what
don't-
modems are
They
compatible.
also don't really let you. They're like they really kind of shy away from.
Yeah, I know.
Offering advice on that.
I keep asking like, okay, so what modems can I get? And like, well, if you go on our website, like, can you send
well,
it to me?
I mean, Fios won't even allow you because there's like a proprietary hookup.
Oh,
to
that's
the
fun.
modem.
And
So
how
you're
much how
just
much a month do you pay for the modem?
A few bucks.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Soon they're gonna start charging like, oh, this is a special Ethernet.
I mean, they
cord
pay you
that
pay for
need
the
that.
you pay for a set top box too. I mean, that's how they get.
Oh yeah,
you.
I don't. have
I
TV.
that's why I cut the cord. I mean, there's just a lot of extraneous expenses.
This is why cable is killing itself.
Yeah.
And this obviously goes well beyond cable because it's also your internet provider and so on and so forth. But they do this to themselves.
Bring it back to AT&T. That's why they've been harping on DirecTV Now, their over-the-top service, because even they admit like it costs money to send installers to buy set-top boxes to send to people. Like do it all online.
Yeah.
It's just cheaper.
Yep. Frosty Flake has one up me. I said it was going to be at least a year or two for the AT&T deal to go through, and
Yeah.
he's saying at least 5 years.
No. These things go through a lot faster than that. It's definitely not 5 years. This will be like, I'm guessing a year, but
Okay.
I don't think it's going to be 5 years.
Hey, in 5 years' time, that's maybe when Game of Thrones will finally end.
All right. We only got a few minutes left, but we got a good question from Srinjoy, our new friend Srinjoy.
Hey.
Wasn't there an issue raised by Bloomberg saying that they were pushed down in the channel listing by Comcast below NBC out of alphabetical order? I know nothing about this.
I don't think they do channel listing by alphabetical order.
Yeah, no, I think the channel listings are done by your channel station numbers, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I also
enough-
don't use Comcast.
I don't know enough details about that. Is he referring to Comcast or?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
None of us live in a Comcast territory, so it's kind of like I've never had the experience. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, same here. Matt S., does anyone remember how weak AT&T was before the iPhone? Then they had that exclusive deal. It's a weaker company, and they won't admit it, or they want to admit another AOL, another future failure for Time Warner. Oh,
Well, AOL was.
I always just love pulling up the shade out of the chat.
I forgot about AOL Time Warner. That's like the worst deal ever.
And look how that turned out.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's time. AT&T, I think, sees the writing on the wall. They look at the wireless business. T-Mobile's kicking their butts. Even Sprint's starting to do better. There's not a lot of growth there, so they want to get into the entertainment business because there's still a lot of value in creating your own content. So it's AT&T trying to do what they're trying to do to evolve, but we'll see if that, if regulators will allow it.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know, man.
Not a big fan of Spectrum myself. I'm kind of hoping maybe some new management will shape that up.
I mean, it's like
but
the
I don't
cheapest
have a
thing
lot
I
of
can
faith
get
it.
in my neighborhood.
It's the only thing I can get in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
I don't have options where I live,
I can get FiOS,
and
but
that's
it's like,
You
obnoxious.
can't get RCN. I had RCN in my apartment in Manhattan, or I had the option to do RCN.
Not to my knowledge where
The
I am
best-
in Queens, but I guess I'll have to look again.
the best part about Spectrum is that they're also under indictment from the Department of Justice in New York right now for the exact same things that we were talking about, like advertising like really high download upload rates and then not delivering on it.
Yep.
So yeah, that trial's still going on. So I pay for this. We all pay for this. So yay.
Yeah. And they get away with murder. They really, really do. All the services do to an extent, but some actually deliver something worthwhile. And I wouldn't be so gripey about it if I didn't lose my internet 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Like your reception or
goes
whatever just
down?
drops.
Yeah, gone.
That's all.
Wow,
That sucks.
that's a legit problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd be annoyed about that. That hasn't happened to me yet. Maybe it happens when I'm not home or something like that. But yeah, my only gripe with my internet currently is that like my new apartment's way larger and it doesn't reach me in the living room anymore.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's their fault.
I don't know about that. I mean, even for a while, I had my own modem, and after I want to say about 6 months of usage on it, it just started to fail, and it wasn't a hardware failure because I checked, like the signal was still passing through.
Yeah.
But they must have somehow deproprietized it. I'm not sure.
Danny Green brings up in the chat that when he got Spectrum, they gave him a modem that wouldn't do 300 megabits per second, which is what they advertised, and that was in the.
Even if they were sending it down the pipe, the box they provided
Wow.
him was a brick wall.
That was in the indictment too, where it was basically they were providing modems that weren't even technically capable of providing that speed.
Wow.
Shock. Oh.
Yeah, oh my god, there was so much in that indictment. Good times.
We should revisit that then.
Yeah, definitely.
we should bring that up as like an extended conversation someday when it's a slow news day. But until then, we're just about out of
we're
time.
out of time. Gotta wrap things up.
All right.
Bring us out, Roger.
Yeah, if you liked anything you saw or heard here, check us out on CNET. Our podcast is available on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Feedburner, and Google Play Music.
Thanks
See
for
y'all-
watching.
See y'all
Thanks
tomorrow.
for joining us, everybody.
But not me, because I'm off.
Oh yeah.
You guys.
Oh,
here.
and
You guys.
just before, to clarify, tomorrow will be our last broadcast before the Thanksgiving holiday, and
We'll be
then we'll
off
be
for
back
Friday. Yep.
next week. So
Yep.
tomorrow, Wednesday, and then back
And we're
again
going
on
to be
Monday.
back late on Monday, correct?
Eh?
By the sounds of it, we'll have to keep you posted. Keep an eye on the Twitter because
Yep.
we have some scheduling stuff coming up.
Yep.
So anyways, thanks. Bye.
Bye, all.